Welcome back to Tape Reading Concepts. It is Friday, the 1st of April, and it is 7:20 almost in the morning. This is the US pre-market. I'm going to take a quick look at the markets that I follow, usually the crude oil market, Comex Gold, which you see in front of you, and of course the index, the S&P500 futures, the ES market. I'm already running a profitable position here from late in the session yesterday. I often look at the last hour or the late afternoon within the Comex Gold market, since very often great placement and sound offers are made in this market. So I usually stop this position then, and very often I manage them hands off over the course of the overnight session. The story here this week with gold is relatively straightforward. After this market came down here strong in the first half of the week, you can see that by Tuesday we found the lows just below 1895. The market left a classic island formation, for which you could learn more on the channel. There's a specific video about island formations within the basic concept series. You can see that the market dipped here down into unexplored territory, climbed just as hard after a balance period, and then this was the bottoms for the week. We've had a very steady progression on the way up, high lows and high highs, beautiful frequency that the market was respecting. And on the way up here, you can see that Wednesday's session took out Tuesday's low. On Thursday, we did take out the Wednesday highs here, and a swap area build up in yesterday's session here as the market deliberated the 1942, 43, 44 levels. Beautiful, obvious swap area as resistance became support, and the market topped out here at very important frequency just around 1955. We had a chimney formation here. The market had a very short balance point and forced hard swapping back again below these buyers. That's why I took this position, expecting that in effect what we had earlier in the previous session is now going to reverse. You can see that as we had a similar balance point and a steep rejection here within the Wednesday session, actually got held up by support in the mid-90s, in the mid-1920s here, around 23, 24. You can see that the double bottom got established. The market held a higher low and then went up to take out the highs. Since we topped out just above this previous formation, this is a classic second time to turn idea, where we have two extremes here, in this case highs, followed by an analogous top formation, which is swapping us to the downside. You can see that the backside of the swap area did play out here. I had to play defense on this one, but I'm not managing this position actively. And I expect that we're at the very least going to arrive back at this support. This is relatively conservative management, and the position is bound to, if fulfilled here properly, to be about a 5.5 to 1 reward versus risk profile. Looking at crude oil here, the lines that I'm looking at here are this set of action-reaction lines. It's a little bit larger. You can see that this market came down hard and is forming up some frequency here. Beautiful respect here on the backside of this frequency established here in the previous session, and great opportunity was offered here around noon yesterday, which unfortunately was not in front of the screen to take advantage of, but the market made new lows here and ultimately broke below the $100 per barrel mark. We did also tap here below the previous reference point, the lows here around 98.50, and this is a relatively weak market. You can see that so far within the overnight session, we have made an excursion to new lows, but we have climbed just as steeply back towards these highs. Nevertheless, the market got stretched and never really followed through to higher prices. So my expectation for this session, since I'm observing very resilient and consistent selling here, is that we're going to rotate probably close to the bottoms. You can see the cluster here at the shoulder following the top, and the very consistent migration of the offer through lower prices. All kinds of shoulders are building up here, and it's very likely that the market will swap around this middle and offer us at least one more leg to the downside towards 98.50, and who knows, maybe even lower. So far, this is a mean reverting session with a massive range, which is typical for crude oil lately. The range right now from just below $98 all the way up to 101.50, so that is a sizable range already. Looking at the ES market here, we're having a beautiful build up. This is the post-market session with the reference point from yesterday around 4,600. You can see where the 4600 markers. It was a relatively slow session in the first half of the day until the lunch hour. Then the market started to slide to the downside since it failed to recover above 4600. Then ever since we have been tracking lower highs. Here in the late afternoon session within the last hour, the overnight lows became resistance and the market got pressed here violently into the close, got sold off all the way to below 45.30. So far it seems that we're going to be recovering back towards the middle of yesterday's range. You can see here the build up to the accumulation at slightly higher lows, slightly higher highs, and this market is definitely escalating towards a potential parabolic. Since the market corners itself into such a four-dimensional structure, it's going to be interesting to see whether it flowers and escalates here back towards the reference point. I would expect this market to get somewhere to 45.75 or 80 if this parabolic moves into the vertical phase or the second portion of this four-dimensional structure. And of course, if that doesn't happen, then it's likely that we're going to get pulled right back here along this center line down towards 45.25 and eventually even 45.20. I would expect that if the equities remain weak within the Friday session, we're going to be moving much closer to 4500 rather than back towards 4600. But it depends on really how this four-dimensional structure will develop within this session. Hopefully you are scanning the markets that you like to participate with and running through a consistent process to define what are your zones of interest, your preferred scenarios, and of course the risk versus reward opportunity that you will define and participate with within the Friday session. Happy hunting in April. I wish you a profitable last trading day of the week and first trading day of the month. This tape reading concepts. My name is Nikolai. I'll catch you in the next video.